Worksheet is a kind of personalized one-to-one communication between the teacher and the student. In that respect, it offers possibilities beyond the learning opportunities that a standard workbook can provide. Many teachers prepare tailored worksheets with the particular students they have in mind. The aim of this podcast is to draw your attention to a few critical points to consider while you are preparing your worksheets and handouts. A worksheet can be defined simply as a written material prepared by the teacher for the students to copy and work on, with the purpose of preparing students for the upcoming lesson, facilitating the learning process during the lesson, making the lesson more memorable, and reinforcing learning and guiding after-class study of individual students. Defining the purpose of your worksheet, then, will be the first step in developing a good worksheet. For example, if you are preparing it as a preparation for the upcoming lesson, you might want to include revision of the previous unit, pre-teaching of required concepts, or an interesting problem that will create need for the information you will present and therefore motivate your students. Sometimes we want to provide a chance to our students to apply what they have learned in the lesson. Our worksheet can be about a classroom post-task. At those times, we prepare the instructions carefully, include performance indicators, and maybe a few tips about the procedure. If you are preparing worksheet to use after the lesson, your worksheet can include some more exercises to reinforce the topic, extra materials that you didn't find time to consider during the lesson, and further reading materials for self-study. To summarize, the first factor to consider as we prepare the worksheet is the purpose. The second factor is whether we want the students to use it at school or at home. If we are preparing a worksheet to be used at home, then obviously we must pay more attention to the clarity of instructions. We will not be available for questions. In addition, home and classroom are different in terms of the accessible resources. At home, students can ask family members for help, search the internet, and refer to other sources such as dictionaries and encyclopedias. Since they can devote longer time, it is possible to try different solutions, think more elaborately on the problems, and exchange ideas with other people. In the classroom, however, they have more restricted resources and time. The worksheets to use during the class time should be prepared considering these restrictions. On the other hand, the classroom has got its own strengths, such as the classmates and the teacher who is readily available for instant feedback on the task progress. The classroom provides a time frame to complete the task, a suitable working space, and the teacher's assistance. Moreover, classroom has a motivating factor of the chance of cooperating with classmates. When we design a worksheet for home, usually we design it for individual work. Whatever type of worksheets you use, there is a third factor to consider for all kinds of purposes and environments. That is the evaluation of the student's performance. In my humble opinion, it is vital that the students receive feedback on their performance. Depending on your purpose, you can choose to give feedback holistically or analytically, right after the worksheet exercise or a summative feedback at the end of the term. Some teachers save time by getting students evaluate each other's worksheets. But whatever you decide to do, make sure that your evaluation criteria is clearly stated. Students know when and how the worksheets will be evaluated and get feedback on how they did. Before we finish this podcast, I want to offer a few tips for the physical appearance of your worksheet. I consider this point also very important because every material has an emotional force that can motivate the students to begin and keep on studying. So first of all, it must be pleasing to the eye. Try to use visuals as well as spaced text, but do not exaggerate. Avoid too much irrelevant information and visually dominating decorations. It can be a good idea to put some white space on the paper for the students to fill in the answers or take notes. For younger students, we can put guiding lines or dots to write in. The white space also hints students about how much we require them to write. If you leave only one line for the answer but require a paragraph, the students might be misled to write shorter than you expect. Since we copy and distribute quite a number of same worksheets, we usually prefer photocopiers. If they will be copied in black and white, work with the shades of the same color rather than different colors to achieve a better visual effect. For example, although blue and green are very different colors, they can appear the same shade of gray when copied in black and white. If you are preparing your worksheet on the computer, try to use limited number of fonts. Using many fonts and font sizes within one paper distracts attention and it isn't pleasing to the eye. Instead, use the same font throughout the worksheet and emphasize the headings, important things, minor notes with the bold, italic, and underlined typeface. Including a section to write the names on their worksheets is a good idea. Since worksheets are separate sheets of paper not attached to notebooks and books, it's easier to lose or accidentally swap a sheet. To summarize, the layout and the ingredients of a worksheet depends on its purpose and whether students will use it at home or in the classroom. I strongly recommend that students' performance on a worksheet must receive feedback, and the worksheets must be designed in a visually pleasing way. I hope you find this podcast useful. Happy learning!